Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, is like a freaking moron.
We have a subscription account. It's on Patreon. One of the things that I give them the opportunity to do, because they've been so good to us, they've been here since the beginning. They're our best supporters, our top supporters. And so I give them an opportunity to ask a question.
Oh, I love it.
Every interview. And so this is from Michael Cummings. If you had to make one statement about who you believe really runs this country, what would it be?
It depends what you mean by who. It's really a class of people. It's the people who are the beneficiaries of our fake meritocracy, the people with the most merit badges, the people who bought into the lie that undergirds the current disaster, which is if you come up through these legacy institutions and gather the degree or the resume, or, you go to whatever, Horace Mann and then Andover and then Yale and then HBS and McKinsey and you go up through whatever, the tokens of achievement that we hand out to a certain class of people, that you will be a wise leader. And that's demonstrably untrue, of course. They've mismanaged all the big things, the things that matter, the economy, our foreign policy, and they've destroyed the family too. So really the worst people. So, but it's the products of that system, a group I'm highly familiar with, that have wrecked everything but are still currently in charge. And the struggle between Trump and Biden is not a struggle between two guys, two elderly men with different worldviews. No, it's a struggle between classes of people. These are symbols, right? They're not, they're people, of course. Mm-hmm. But in the case of Trump as a person, Biden is not fully human anymore because he's got dementia, but whatever. I shouldn't say not fully human, but he's not
fully functioning human.
Yeah, he's not a totally autonomous being anymore. He doesn't have personal sovereignty anymore. But whatever. But it's not even about them. Even if he did, it's not about them. It's about classes of people and who should be running the country. Should it be the people, this leadership class, which really is the product of a quite elaborate grooming system that's come up over the last century, but really accelerated post-war, the past 80 years, or like the rest of the people who live here? Should they have a voice too? Should they have any power? So, but that's who's running it. And it's quite a large group, actually. And I grew up, if not in, then certainly adjacent to that group. So I'm quite knowledgeable about it, and I've lived around it. So I know it when I see it, instantly know it when I see it. And I didn't question it really as much as I do now. Now I find it completely repulsive and immoral and really disgusting, actually. But I didn't always feel that way because I didn't fully understand it. But the reason that it's so hard to describe who's really in charge and why people often decide well, it's got to be Bohemian Grove or, some small group of people. The reason that it's so hard to really pinpoint who's making the decisions is because it's quite large and diffuse. It's an entire class of people with similar instincts and similar vested interests in things. And they unfortunately just have an awful lot of power, and they control the monopolies that define our economy.
Do you think that, are these people you're talking about, are they controlling the country or are they controlling the world?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I don't know if I've arrived at a really clear answer, but it's certainly obvious at this point that borders are overrated, as meaningful distinctions between, do countries matter? No. Globalization was originally conceived as an economic system, a much more efficient economic system where it's cheaper to do one thing in that country, it's cheaper to do this thing in that country, and why don't we just network them effectively, and that'll be a much more efficient economy, and we'll grow GDP, which we claim is an accurate measure of something, I guess, of wealth. It's not, but let's just say that was the thought. But what it turned into, because governance does tend to follow economics, what it turned into was a leadership system. So in other words, what we thought was just a way to get cheaper electronics from the Far East turned out to be effectively world government. Not, of course, strictly speaking, world government, not officially world government in the way that we people feared 40 years ago, that the UN's going to run everything. It's much more informal than that, but much more durable than that. So it's a network of businesses, governments, intel agencies for sure, and NGOs that determine what's allowed and what's not allowed. And it's, as someone who travels a lot abroad and has, on and off my whole life, I don't know that it has amounted to much, but I definitely have been a lot of places, as you have. The most noticeable trend, and I traveled a lot as a kid, so I've sort of seen the difference. The most noticeable trend is the homogenization of everything. Everything looks the same. The attitudes are all the same. Everyone has the same, fashionable attitudes that are really top-down delivered. And the world has just sort of lost its differences. There are some exceptions. There are some places you go, I really want to go to North Korea, not because I have any love for this, Stalinism. Of course I don't. I hate it. But I do sort of want to be a place that's a little bit different from other places. Because I actually believe in diversity in the truest sense. Like I think differences are fine. I actually like them. I appreciate them. I think we need them. I think nature creates differences. God creates differences. So I resent the fact that everything is the same. But that is one measure of the power of this class. It's international. It's completely international. So the whole idea of like a sovereign nation putting one country's interest before another country's, that's like completely alien to the way the leadership class thinks, completely. If things go to shit here, I'll move to Singapore. And if they, the Chinese do to Singapore what they did to Hong Kong, then I'm in Abu Dhabi. And if things go to shit there, then I'm in wherever the next place is. Do you know what I mean? Baker's Bay, or whatever. It's like it's a way of thinking. And it's hard to defeat that. The people who've derived the greatest benefit from American society or global elite society as it currently exists are almost to a person the least productive people in the society. People who loan money at interest. Really? I guess there's a role for finance, in a society. But tell me how people who loan money for a living should be, the most revered and the most highly rewarded. No, they probably shouldn't be, actually. The people who make things, who innovate in a true sense, who actually improve human life, people who say profound things, create beautiful things, they should be rewarded. So it's all the truth is the people in charge are the least impressive. They're the least important. If they went away tomorrow, if Susan Rice and Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, is like a freaking moron and a bad person. If she went away tomorrow, would that be bad, or it wouldn't have any difference? She's never done anything. And so that class of people, which is disproportionately benefited from our system, has a lot to lose. A lot. The most to lose. If I'm a super competent diesel mechanic, diesel engines are going to be around for a long time. Sorry. You're not going to do long-haul trucking on an electric motor. Sorry. We're not anytime soon. So if I can fix a diesel engine, my value is demonstrable. Probably not going to be unemployed, actually. But if you're Janet Yellen and you're an economist who knows nothing about economics and your whole life is getting paid off by the banks, which hers has been, you're not really needed, actually. You're a net drain on society. And so someone like that has a lot to protect, a lot. The whole edifice of bullshit could just come crashing down on her, right?
Yeah.
So she's a lot jumpier than your average diesel mechanic.
Why do you think, you're talking about, how old is Janet Yellen? She's got to be
several hundred years old, I think. Janet Yellen, who's a criminal, and she literally was Fed chair and she took payoffs from the banks, really, for speeches.